So if you've watched this channel before, you know that I play against a lot of really good Pokemon players. From top 3 on the ladder to the 2023 champion, I've beaten all sorts of players with all types of Pokemon. By far, though, the most silly win I've ever gotten on a top player was when I beat Twash, the 2023 Gen 4 champion, with a bloody Corsola. The other day I load up a Weezing team for video and look who it is, oh god bless. So I'll show you that match and the team here. Skip to the battle chapter if you just want to see the actual battle and my thought process for it, but otherwise, enjoy. So, looking at the team, really quick for this little Weezing team we got going on. Lead Azelf, it's really good offensively. We went without Taunt because, I think people are kind of used to Taunt Azelf, so they tend to just hit it right off the bat and kill it rather than trying to set up Stealth Rocks on turn 1, so Taunt's utility really isn't there anymore. You get your Stealth Rocks up pretty consistently. Zen Headbutt messes up Roserade and Machamp and whatnot pretty well. U-turn. If we need momentum on whatever we can't hit, Explosion, that's all well and good. Nothing too crazy. And then we got our, offensive core right here, Machamp and Bronzong. Bronzong sets up Trick Room, explodes, goes 1 for 1, and then Machamp comes in under Trick Room and kills everything. Really good offensive synergy there. We also went with Substitute and Custap Berry, because a lot of time they'll send in a stall Pokemon to deal with Machamp when Trick Room's up, so you can sub up on Toxic or Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp or whatever, and then do your thing, and once Trick Room's over you can just continually sub down until you hit Custap Berry range, get a second kill. Yeah, it's all well and good. And then star of the team, Poohface, our Weezing. He sucks. Sucks in Gen 4, but at least Explosion, you can generally trade 1 for 1 at least, and that's good. It's got pretty good defensive coverage with Dark Pulse, Fire Blast, so it's threatening offensively, but really not much point in using it over other explosion users like Muck or Metagross, whatever. Like, there's plenty of other good explosion users, doesn't have to be Weezing. But in this game, it actually put in work and showed its niche, that being that it is a pretty good fighting type answer. Machamp really struggles to break through it, especially Breloom. Breloom can't break through it hardly at all, so it's got a thing, but it rarely comes into play this game. Is one of the few exceptions where Weezing showed its worth. Rounding out offensive team, Scizor. Choice Band Scizor is always good. You got your Bullet Punch, Pursuit, U-turn Superpower, handles a lot of Pokemon in the game, revenge kills really easily, Pursuit traps Ghost, which we don't like. Just good Pokemon, can't really go wrong with it. And then our my guilty pleasure Pokemon I pretty much always use on every team, Flygon, Scarf Flygon, one of the best revenge killers in Gen 4, maybe the best. Packing U-turn, Earthquake, Dragon Claws have Outrage, just because people are getting pretty good at pivoting and steals on Outrage, and we really need to keep Viper for the whole game, so, Then Thunder Punch, specifically for Gyarados. It means Scarf Flygon a lot of speed, +1 Dragon Dance Gyarados, and Thunder Punch 1-hit KOs it, unless it's rocking a Wakan Berry, so, it's clearly an offensive team, going to be making a lot of trades, a lot of sacks, but make it work, and yeah, overall pretty good, and it's good enough to beat a certain someone, so can't be that bad, right? Yeah, starting off the game, we got Azelf Ditto, which is always a bit of a fuckfest, because if you lose the speed tie, get taunted, you basically get nothing out of the turn, so I think in this situation, never really worth going for taunt in case they win the speed tie, get their rocks up anyway, or if you're min speed, I'm max speed, so it'll always be a speed tie, but never worth going for taunt, now that I have it. And not really worth going for U-turn either, because I really want my rocks up for certain threats that the team struggles with, namely Gyarados, Latias, and Rotom. So get to just go for rocks, and they do the same. Rocks doesn't bother my team a whole lot, so not the end of the world there. And then from here, I'm going for U-turn. I'm hoping for a slow U-turn because it means I'll get to see what they bring in first, assuming they go for U-turn. But they end up being bulky Azelf because 44 is really not a lot from a super effective U-turn, and tells me they're probably not max speed, so they get the slow U-turn off, but instead go right for the self-destruct or explosion. Bronzong eats that, not too badly, but it being low health means I'm not getting the Trick Room up, I'm not going to get a pop off with the Machamp, which is a bit of a bummer, but also means I have a fast explosion user in the back in Azelf, so better just let this go. Could pivot in Scarf Flag on, but no sense in doing any of that when got a perfect good sack right here. And gonna scare it out. Earthquake is pretty free here, but I know Twash is a pretty good player, so they're not gonna give up Heatran for free, especially because they probably know this is Scarf. So I expect some kind of flying type Pokemon or levitate Pokemon, so instead I go for the predicted U-turn. I end up bringing in Gengar, so good stuff on my part. And what I should probably do here is just go to Scizor and Pursuit Trap it, but I had this Azelf here, and I think I got a little caught up in trying to preserve Pokemon in case of a Magnezone, because I really want to keep my Scizor forward throughout the game, so I decided to go to my faster Azelf, threaten Zen Headbutt. And at this point I was really debating U-turning, because I kind of expected a Tyranitar to come in, block my Zen Headbutt, but I was pussy. I just went for the safe Zen Headbutt, so I can always explode on Tyranitar if it does come in. Instead, Heatran comes in. And again, I don't want taking any damage on my Scarf Flagon, so I like to just blow Azelf up. Trade 1 for 1, and I have some better chip on him, so I'm at a slight advantage. And not sure what's coming in here. If it is Gengar, I'm going to Pursuit Trap it now. And if it's not, Scizor is good anyway, because I can just U-turn. Even if it's Magnezone, I can superpower it, so it ends up being Machamp, which is a little bit worrisome, because I don't have a good switch-in ever on this team, so just going to take the Dynamic Punch, U-turn out. And if I get confused, I'm in a bit of a shitty spot, but end up getting it anyway. And then here we get to see our boy Weezing. He's actually a pretty good fighting type check. Who knew? So now that Weezing's in, can 2-K with Sludge Bomb. Not worried about anything Machamp can do to me. Worst case scenario is Dynamic Punch Confusion, but that still does very little damage, especially because Weezing's come in safely. And it's a bulk up Machamp. Kind of thought this might be a Custap Berry, but really doesn't matter. Weezing will handle anything the champ can do, so eat that up. Go for the Sludge Bomb. Cool. And then at this point, Weezing is probably just going to be a sack. It's unlikely they're going to have anything slower than Weezing, and it's also unlikely, I thought, that they'd have any Dragon Dancer that really wants to set up on Weezing, because there's a 50% chance I blow it up. But, you know, they end up bringing in Gyarados, and from here I know this is almost certainly Dragon Dance. They're trying to go for a game. But not really worried about it, because two options for revenge killing, and first is, you know, Weezing just breaks through Confusion, kills the Gyarados with Explosion. But assuming I get hit in Confusion, they get their Dragons up, then they still lose because they kill Weezing next turn. I bring in Scizor, Bullet Punch, get Chip. They kill Scizor, then go Flygon, Still faster, Thunder Punch kills even through Wacom Berry, so I figured it was better to just let Weezing do its thing rather than bring in Flygon immediately on the Dragon Dance. I know they are going for Dragon Dance, but on the off chance that they're Wacom Berry, it's better to take this double sack route where I sack Weezing, then sack Scizor, then Revenge Kill with Flygon. So this is probably the only thing that's really gonna fuck my team up. So, but all that thought went to waste because Weezing just breaks through confusion, and all's well that ends well. Cool. So now that that's done, they can either bring in Gengar or an unrevealed last Pokemon. And if they bring in Gengar, again, I would love to Bullet Punch. I'd love to Bullet Punch anything, really. The only thing that would suck for them to bring in is a Metagross or a Magnezone or Magneton. And if it's Magnezone or Magneton, I can deal with that with Machamp. But if it's anything else, Scizor is great because it doesn't let anything set up. Bullet Punch will do tons of damage, and it will also kill Gengar, so decided to just go Scizor. Sucks that they end up bringing in Magneton, but it's not the end of the world, because side tangent, I think Magneton sucks in Gen 4, because it's always Scarf. You know, if you want to do specs, substitute leftovers, charge beam, magnet rise, whatever, you do that with Magneton or Magnezone. But if you want Scarf, it's Magneton, so there's no guessing on what this guy's gonna do. So whatever he locks into, I can punish with either Flygon or Machamp. So just let Scizor go down. I should have Bullet Punched, but it's just kind of moving too fast. But since they locked in a Thunderbolt, Flygon is free. And because Thunderbolt doesn't do any damage to Flygon and they are locked into it, I'm 99% certain, I can just go for Dragon Claw. There's no risk because he's just sitting here fucking Thunderbolting into a ground type. So go ahead and Dragon Claw, bring in Gengar, deal good damage. And it's pretty sure they were going to switch back to Magneton. So if I was trusting my gut, I would have switched to Machamp to unlock myself out of Dragon Claw, but I'm ahead enough now that I rather just play it safe. So continue to Dragon Claw. And you can see Magneton's bulk is not that great. It takes a pretty hefty chunk of damage here from Dragon Claw, so at this point, most damage they can do is Flash Cannon. So I had to do a bit of math, right? If I bring in Machamp, it will take like 40-ish%. Then it becomes a 50-50 if I Dynamic Punch into Gengar. Then I probably lose the game. If I Ice Punch into Gengar, then I win the game. If they stay in with Magneton on the Ice Punch, it'll deal like 10-15%. Then Machamp dies, or goes into Custap Berry, then we have the 50-50 with switching into Gengar and Dynamic Punch. So my thought process was Flash Cannon doesn't kill Flygon, Ice Punch does 10-15%, we saw Dragon Claw does 25-27%. So the play here is, since Flygon doesn't die to Flash Cannon, go to Machamp, Ice Punch it, deal the 15%. Even if he switches, then we win with Earthquake. If he doesn't switch, chip it into Dragon Claw range to sweep. So, play was obvious. First go to Machamp, then do the Ice Punch. They try and hope I choke, but I solved it, and yeah, it's over. No chance of coming back now. We win against Twash again, so you know, they're clearly not having the best luck against these shit Pokemon like Corsola and Weezing, but you know, I'll take it. Weezing's cool. Kind of has a thing to do in Gen 4, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's fun to play with them. They're pretty nice about it. yeah, that's it. Peace.